Imagine this. You light up, you take a hit, and suddenly you're not just on your couch. You're halfway between this world and some strange dimension where your thoughts sound like cosmic TED Talks. You think weed just makes you laugh, hungry, or zone out on Netflix. Nah, that's the kids' version. The real story? Weed has been a spiritual weapon. You're not just inhaling smoke, you're inhaling a key. Everyone thinks they know what weed does. Some say it relaxes you, some say it makes you creative, and some swear they just get hungry and laugh at cat videos for 3 hours. But here's the thing. Weed has a hidden side that almost nobody talks about. I'm not just talking about the oops, I forgot why I walked into this room side. I'm talking about the spiritual side. The side that opens doors you didn't even know existed, and sometimes, let's be honest, doors you wish had stayed locked. To grasp what truly happens on a psycho-spiritual level when cannabis is consumed, it is essential to explore the dynamics between the physical body, the etheric field, the auric layers, and the subtle centers of consciousness. The first effect of cannabis manifests within the etheric body, which exists as a luminous matrix overlaying the physical form. This field acts as a vital life grid, regulating the flow of energy between the higher spiritual dimensions and the corporeal body. When cannabis is introduced, it alters the vibrational frequency of this etheric matrix. The plant's energetic signature causes a temporary softening or thinning of the boundary between the etheric body and the astral plane. As a result, the user becomes more permeable to non-physical influences. This permeability explains why some individuals report heightened sensitivity, visions, or intuitive impressions after consumption. However, this softening also increases vulnerability, making the individual more susceptible to external energetic influences, both harmonious and disruptive. A common misconception perpetuated in modern spiritual circles is the idea that cannabis directly activates the pineal gland, often called the third eye. While cannabis does affect perception, it does not activate the pineal gland in a way that leads to authentic spiritual awakening. Instead, cannabis temporarily alters the electromagnetic field surrounding the head, creating a simulated effect of expanded perception. The user may feel as though new insights are flowing, but in reality, cannabis induces a form of astral displacement, where the conscious awareness shifts partially out of alignment with the physical body. This subtle dislocation can produce visions, heightened creativity, or an expanded sense of self, but these experiences are often fragmented, lacking the depth and stability of genuine spiritual insight attained through disciplined inner work. Astral displacement, though seemingly harmless, carries hidden consequences. When consciousness shifts away from its natural anchoring point within the heart and solar plexus, the energetic cords that bind the soul to the body can become stretched or weakened. In such states, the individual becomes an open conduit for astral currents, which may contain both enlightening and deceptive influences. Ancient teachings warn that frequent or careless cannabis use creates habitual patterns of partial dislocation, which over time may lead to a condition known as energetic fragmentation. This fragmentation often manifests as a sense of disconnection, lack of focus, or a subtle but persistent feeling of being out of sync with oneself and the world. Moreover, cannabis consumption influences the auric field, the multi-layered energetic envelope that reflects the spiritual, emotional, and mental state of a person. The auric field functions like a protective membrane, filtering energies and maintaining spiritual integrity. Cannabis temporarily relaxes this protective shield, allowing foreign energies, emotional imprints, and astral residues to enter. Although this permeability can sometimes result in brief moments of expanded empathy or heightened awareness, it often leaves the auric field vulnerable to energetic drainage or parasitic attachments. This phenomenon explains why some users report feeling emotionally depleted, mentally foggy, or spiritually drained after the initial effects wear off. The subconscious mind also reacts in a particular way when cannabis is introduced into the system. Cannabis weakens the natural barriers that separate the conscious mind from subconscious layers, allowing repressed thoughts, forgotten memories, or hidden emotions to surface. While this can offer opportunities for insight and healing, it more often leads to confusion when the emerging content is not understood or processed correctly. Without proper guidance or a grounded spiritual practice, the influx of subconscious material may overwhelm the user, blurring the lines between personal insight and unconscious projection. One of the most critical yet seldom discussed effects is the phenomenon of vibrational bleeding. This term describes the subtle leakage of personal energy into the surrounding environment during altered states. When under the influence of cannabis, the user's vibrational frequency becomes more erratic, causing fragments of personal energy to dissipate into the ether. This leakage weakens the individual's spiritual presence and makes it harder to maintain energetic sovereignty. Over time, habitual vibrational bleeding can lead to a diminished sense of personal power and an increased dependency on external stimuli to feel connected or alive. Cannabis also opens temporary portals in the etheric and astral layers. These portals allow energies, impressions, and even entities from unseen dimensions to interact more freely with the user's consciousness. While this interaction can sometimes provide profound experiences, such as visions or insights, it more often leads to confusion because the energies entering through these portals are unfiltered. Without the protection of a strong, disciplined mind and heart-centered awareness, the user may find it difficult to discern between genuine spiritual guidance and deceptive astral influences posing as wisdom. Finally, cannabis subtly interferes with the alignment of the soul's higher aspects with the lower self. True spiritual growth depends on maintaining a clear, coherent connection between the soul's higher faculties such as wisdom, compassion, and inner knowing, and the everyday consciousness. Cannabis creates a temporary bypass, offering glimpses of higher states without the foundational work needed to sustain them. This shortcut effect can foster a false sense of spiritual progress, where the user believes they have advanced simply because they experienced moments of euphoria, visions, or altered states. In reality, these experiences remain isolated flashes, lacking the integrative depth required for lasting transformation. Throughout the history of spiritual exploration, many seekers have been drawn to states of altered consciousness in their quest for higher wisdom. Cannabis, with its unique psychoactive properties, often presents itself as a shortcut to mystical experiences. However, the temporary nature of these altered states and the subtle illusions they create have led countless individuals into spiritual traps that are difficult to recognize until much damage has already been done. These traps revolve around the misunderstanding of mystical experiences, the distortion of spiritual perception, and the creation of false insights that appear profound but lack true transformative power. One of the most common traps lies in the allure of false gnosis. Gnosis, in its pure form, refers to direct experiential knowledge of divine truth. Authentic gnosis arises from a deep inner connection cultivated through spiritual discipline, self-purification, and the gradual awakening of higher faculties. Cannabis, however, can induce vivid visions, intense feelings of unity, or sudden bursts of creative thought that mimic the qualities of true gnosis. These experiences often feel profound in the moment, leading the user to believe they have accessed higher wisdom. Yet upon closer examination, these revelations frequently reveal themselves as fragmented reflections of the user's subconscious desires, fears, or fantasies. The visions lack the enduring clarity, coherence, and life-changing depth that characterize genuine mystical insight. Another hidden danger involves the distortion of spiritual downloads. True spiritual downloads, moments when higher wisdom seems to flow effortlessly into the mind, are gifts that typically arrive after long periods of sincere practice and inner alignment. When cannabis is used, it can trigger sudden waves of information or ideas that feel as though they come from a higher source. However, these so-called downloads are often distorted by the subconscious filters of the user's mind. The plant's influence creates a porous boundary between the higher mind and the personal subconscious, causing the two streams to mix. As a result, what seems like a revelation may in fact be a projection of inner fantasies or unresolved issues. Without the discernment that comes from disciplined practice, the user risks mistaking these fragments for authentic spiritual messages. Cannabis also has a subtle way of feeding the ego, particularly the spiritual ego. The sensation of accessing hidden knowledge or experiencing altered states can lead a person to believe they have advanced spiritually. This sense of premature attainment feeds the illusion of superiority or specialness, which directly contradicts the humility required for genuine spiritual growth. Instead of fostering a deeper connection with the divine, the user may become entangled in a self-created narrative of enlightenment. This phenomenon, known among spiritual teachers as ego inflation, results in a fragile sense of spiritual identity that collapses under genuine challenges or deeper introspection. A particularly deceptive trap occurs when cannabis creates phantom teachers or misleading inner voices. Under the influence of the plant, users sometimes encounter inner dialogues, visions of entities, or guiding voices that appear wise or benevolent. While some of these experiences may arise from benign aspects of the subconscious, others originate from the astral plane, where entities and thought forms masquerade as spiritual guides. These phantom teachers often deliver half-truths, flattery, or distorted wisdom designed to entrap the seeker in cycles of dependency and illusion. The danger lies in the user's inability to distinguish between authentic spiritual guidance, which aligns with truth and promotes inner freedom, and deceptive influences that reinforce ego fantasy or confusion. When examining the spiritual consequences of cannabis, most people look only for obvious signs such as addiction, memory lapses, or emotional dullness. However, the deeper spiritual disruptions caused by cannabis operate in far more subtle ways, often escaping notice until they manifest as persistent inner obstacles. One of the first and most easily overlooked signs is the quiet erosion of inner willpower. The spiritual journey depends heavily on the strength of intention and the capacity to direct one's focus and actions with clarity and discipline. Cannabis, when used habitually or even occasionally without sacred intent, has a subtle numbing effect on the centers of willpower located within the solar plexus. This weakening does not occur in a dramatic way, but reveals itself through procrastination, avoidance of inner work, or the persistent postponement of spiritual practices. Over time, the seeker may find themselves less inclined to meditate, pray, or engage in self-reflection, feeling instead a quiet resistance or lack of motivation that they cannot fully explain. A second hidden sign involves the gradual distortion of intuitive perception. True intuition operates as a quiet, steady knowing that arises from deep inner alignment. It requires a clear mind and a balanced heart. Under the influence of cannabis, intuition can become mixed with personal projections, desires, or emotional residues. The seeker may begin to mistake emotional impulses or fleeting thoughts for genuine intuitive guidance. This distortion leads to poor spiritual discernment, where decisions are made based on false readings of situations or inner voices that seem trustworthy but are tainted by the subconscious mind's interference. The resulting confusion can create patterns of misjudgment, spiritual doubt, and mistrust of one's own inner compass. Another subtle yet powerful consequence is the fragmentation of the attention field. The ability to sustain deep, focused attention is a cornerstone of both meditation and spiritual perception. Cannabis subtly disrupts the fine threads of concentrated attention by scattering mental energy across multiple levels of perception. The user may notice difficulty maintaining deep focus, experiencing wandering thoughts during meditation, or an inability to hold spiritual concepts clearly in the mind. This fragmentation weakens the very faculty needed to enter higher states of consciousness and makes the practice of mindfulness feel more effortful or even frustrating. Every genuine spiritual path calls the seeker toward mastery of self, liberation from illusion, and the awakening of true inner sovereignty. While substances like cannabis may offer temporary glimpses into altered states of consciousness, they ultimately serve as tools that, if misused or misunderstood, can delay the deeper work required for lasting transformation. The first and most vital step on this path is the recognition of the distinction between genuine spiritual experience and chemically induced states. True spiritual experience arises from the inner alignment of mind, heart, body, and spirit. It emerges naturally through devoted practice, ethical living, and sincere self-inquiry. Such experiences possess a timeless quality, leaving the seeker with a sense of peace, humility, and expanded awareness that integrates effortlessly into daily life. In contrast, states induced by substances often carry a transient intensity followed by confusion, emotional imbalance, or a sense of disconnection. By acknowledging this difference, the seeker lays the foundation for a deeper commitment to authentic spiritual work and avoids mistaking fleeting highs for lasting wisdom. The process of purification follows naturally after this recognition. Purification, in the spiritual sense, involves cleansing the mind of false beliefs, releasing emotional residues, and freeing the body from energetic toxins. When a seeker has used cannabis regularly, this process must also include a conscious detoxification of the subtle energy bodies and a recalibration of the auric field. Traditional methods such as fasting, breathwork, meditation, and sacred movement practices help to realign the energy system and restore its natural vibrational coherence. Engaging in conscious abstinence combined with practices that promote clarity, like deep breathing, prayer, or chanting, supports the gradual dissolution of cannabis's lingering energetic imprints. Over time, this allows the natural rhythm of the soul's energy to re-establish itself without artificial interference. Integration stands at the heart of moving beyond the need for external aids. Integration means learning to embody the insights, qualities, and states of consciousness that arise from true inner work. Rather than chasing extraordinary experiences, the integrated seeker focuses on bringing spiritual awareness into every aspect of life: relationships, work, creativity, and service to others. This approach requires a shift from seeking experiences to cultivating virtues such as patience, compassion, humility, and inner strength. By practicing mindfulness, maintaining ethical integrity, and committing to sincere self-reflection, the seeker anchors spiritual wisdom in the tangible realities of daily living. This grounding transforms fleeting insights into lasting inner change, dissolving the illusion that profound experiences must come from altered states. Please like and share this video and share your thoughts with us in the comment.